So I'm gonna try and transform this disaster into something I call Riverbank Roots. And I'm gonna try and do it in less than an hour. But here's the catch. We can only use what's inside this box, but more on that later. Let's get into it. Over the past year or so, I've gotten kind of obsessed with creating fish tanks that look like a natural place. The goal is this time to use all natural materials and to make it look like an actual side of a riverbank. And I think by the end, you'll be able to create something just like this really easily. So this is a 5-gallon starter tank I built down here for my man cave. I wanted something down here that added a little more life to the room. And honestly, something to calm me down while I watch my Bengals lose all the time. I've kind of neglected this tank lately though. I mostly keep up with the maintenance and water changes. I just don't really find myself turning on the light and enjoying it anymore. It's just gotten algae, dirty, the decor's fallen over. But these fish are ready to move into the big cichlid tank I have. So I figured it's a perfect time to completely redo this tank. And the goal is to turn it into something natural that might lower my blood pressure when I'm down here watching sports. So after we got this thing cleaned up and got everything out of it, we're gonna keep the sand. It's actually kind of the perfect color. So we're gonna build the sand up for our riverbank. And I'm just gonna pile it up into a big mound in the middle of the tank. That'll give us the height we need for like that riverbank, kind of sloping down from the back of the tank to the front. And I'm gonna take the biggest piece of wood from the box and figure out how I want it to sit. So we're wanting it to look like roots coming down. Kind of thinking something like that could look cool. And what we'll do is we'll make the riverbank underneath it, right? So all around in here. Next, I'm building out the rocky bank underneath the roots. I'm starting out with getting the biggest rocks in first and just kind of stacking those into place. This part's honestly, it's just trial and error, right? We're making a pile of rocks into a riverbank. But once the bigger rocks are in, I can start working smaller rocks and pebbles in around them. Already that quickly, that's already starting to come together a little bit. All right, quick time check here. We are 26 minutes into the build. Cleanup took a little longer than expected, but I think we're on track. All right, I'm liking how the rocks are looking. I am gonna put one more in here in this main area, but first, let's try and figure out how to get some roots in there. Now, I did not follow the instructions and let these soak in a bucket until they sank. So I did throw them in a bucket and they do float. So before we get water in, we are going to try and maybe just jam them in to where they might not float, but we may have issues when we fill it with water. Oh, I love how that looks. That's so cool. This just adds so much realism. That's a fancy word, realism. So I'm just trying to wedge this stuff into between the rocks. No real, super rhyme or reason to it. Just kind of spreading out some roots. So this is kind of where we're at. It's maybe looking a little busy on camera, but we'll get some water in and see what it looks like. I obviously don't like that rock up on top, but we're going to see how things float before we remove it. But you can get a good look at where we're at so far. The roots really give it a lot of structure and realism looking, but we have some more detail to do too. It's kind of dramatic from the bigger rocks and then just down to the blank sand. So this is that gravel and then little smaller rocks mixture to kind of look more realistic, like an actual river, where it's not just going to be big rocks and sand, right? There's going to be everything in between. Okay, so I just got a handful of that stuff. Whoops. Got a handful of that stuff, and I'm just going to try and go around up tight against the edge. All right, time for the moment of truth. Let's fill her up. This is where you can really mess things up if you're not careful. You can mess up all this detail work and kick around all the sand. So A lot of things you could use. I'm going to use this little piece of a filter bag and dump the water on that. That should help not stir up the sand and mess up our aquascape too much. All right, we are so close to being done with this build. The last thing we got to do is bring it to life and put in the plants that came in the kit. And then we're going to go to the pet store and pick out a fish. Before we do, I told you everything came from this box to decorate this tank. So I want to talk a little bit more about it. I'm the founder of My Tank Tales, and we basically make it easy to transform your tank into a natural place. Anybody can do it, and it should take less than an hour. So really what you'll do is you'll pick a theme, your tank size. You'll get the kit delivered to you, and you'll follow the instructions in the kit, and it comes with everything you need to make an awesome natural looking tank. All the materials are pre-cleaned and pre-treated and safe for your fish, ready to go right into the tank. When I first got into making natural aquariums, I found it difficult to find exactly what to buy. I had trouble getting everything to come together in a cohesive way that actually looked like something natural. And on top of that, I didn't know what was safe for the fish. I didn't know that you have to treat driftwood, otherwise it's going to make your tank look really dirty. So we do all that for you. It's honestly something that I wish I had when I first started. So I just want to try and make it easy for others. If you're interested and want to learn more, I'll go ahead and put a link in the description. But for now, we got to get back into this build and finish this thing up. All right, first plant's a fern. Good thing about these is you don't have to plant them into the substrate at all. You just shove them into different little cracks and they'll grow. So I want this one to be kind of more in the background. So this was really the first problem we ran into with our build is we filled up the tank before putting in our plants, and you can see they're floating all over the place. And it's really kind of a nightmare because they tend to want to float. So it's hard to get them in between the rocks where I need them to sit while they're floating. So this added the most amount of time to our build. We had to drain the tank back down, find places for the plants to sit. And then we actually ended up gluing some moss to that big flat spot up on top that didn't look so natural. So we have moss kind of coming down the branches as well, which hopefully should look pretty cool. So we'll get us back on track here. But yeah, that definitely ate about 15 minutes that we didn't need to. So updating our instructions, we're always adapting, learning. So we're updating our instructions to make sure that nobody else runs into the same problem if they get one of these kits. All right, so we got all our plants added. This kit came with 3 plants plus the moss, so we put 2 of the ferns in the background and put this one that's like a leaf type plant up towards the front. And it's time to add fish and enjoy our riverbank. I'm absolutely loving my new tank, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'm giving out discount codes to people that are interested in this kit, so check the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and subscribe to see more of these natural tank transformations. And remember, your tank, your tale.